Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Tony Award winner Lea Salonga performs live this Friday for Broadway in the Park at Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia. She joined me to discuss her groundbreaking career, including winning a Tony in Miss Saigon on Broadway, the first Asian actress to do so, as well as providing the iconic Disney singing voices of Princess Jasmine in Aladdin and Mulan in Mulan. Lea Salonga, hey, thank you so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
Oh, sweet. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're talking because you're coming to Broadway in the Park at Wolf Trap in beautiful Virginia on Friday, June 16th. It's the third annual Broadway in the Park. They do it every year, and this year it's going to be you and Tony nominee Megan Hilty. Everyone knows of Smash and Wicked and 9 to 5 the musical, all that stuff. But yeah, so what do we have in store for this? Is there a way to tease the set list or the general vibe? What do we got?
Oh, heck no. I'm not going to tease anything. I'm not going to tease anything. But yeah, when I was asked to come and be a part of it, it was like, wow, this is going to be a lot of fun. And DC is always a city that I enjoy visiting. And I think it's going to be a really good time.
Absolutely. So if obviously you can't tease the songs because you got to come out to actually hear it in person, folks. We got to leave something for you. But if there's a way, like, is it going to be like the greatest hits of your musical theater shows that you've both have been in? It's called Broadway in the Park, so I assume it's all your greatest Broadway numbers.
Not always. No. I mean, whenever I do concerts, I try to make sure that there is a nice mix of material that people are familiar with, but also material that people might not be familiar with. Um, and that includes me. I mean, I like doing stuff that sometimes is new, sometimes is challenging, and is not expected. So I guess that will apply here as well. And yeah, sometimes I like including things that I haven't sung in a while. So you're just all gonna have to wait and see what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there will also be a bunch of, local actors from Signature Theater here in Virginia. And I think, Signature Theater's artistic director is going to be involved. So it's going to be a lot of local flavor as well as the, you Broadway stars.
Right.
Whenever I have someone famous on, I love to sort of hear your journey in case there's young folks listening that want to get into this. So I know you're born in
Oh,
Manila,
sure.
Manila in the
Yeah.
Philippines.
Yes.
What started it for you? Was it like family parties? Did I read that a cousin urged you to audition for The King and I, or what started it for you?
Okay. So, I mean, when you're a kid and you can sing, you're going to have, a mom like mine who will volunteer for you to sing at family parties. But I don't remember being like the only one who would actually like get up and sing and do stuff in front of other members of the family. Um, but yeah, so my mom would ask me to sing and I would sing something. I mean, whatever. Um, and then one of my cousins who was very active in musical theater told my mother, um, to bring me to these auditions for The King and I, which the theater company she was working with was was going to mount not long after that one particular party. And I just remember going to these auditions and my mom just taking me. It was like, whatever. And getting up on the stage and feeling absolutely no fear. And I just remember getting up and singing, and it wasn't one of those life-changing events where it was like, oh my God, once I got on the stage, this was it. And I didn't want to, it was like, okay, it was nice. It was fun. I didn't feel afraid. There were other kids who were going to be part of the show as well. So I guess that meant I wouldn't, the onus was not going to be on me to, perform in a very particular way or whatever. It was like, all right, bunch of kids, makeup, costumes, performing in front of people. Sure. And I was 6 at the audition, and then I had a little birthday celebration during rehearsals and went on stage when I was 7. And I just remember it being fun. And I remember, um, yeah, I don't recall it being, a lightning and thunder event of any kind. As I'd said, it
Right.
was just something that I thought was a lot of fun, and I didn't really think that it was going to be the lifelong career that it turned out to be. But yeah, I went in. It was just basically, joining a production, auditioning for one, and that was that. And
So
then
what?
joining more and doing it more, and then getting more responsibility as I got older.
So it wasn't like the heavens parted and the light came down and said, "This is what I must do." It was like, "Oh, okay, I like this. I'll keep doing it."
Yeah, it was as simple as that.
I love it. Well, you really, made good on that. Because I read somewhere that you were considered like the Shirley Temple of the Philippines, like for like a movie role in addition to all the theater roles you were doing.
I mean, as a kid, I had gotten awards for live entertainment because I started doing film at around 10, and I think we all must have gotten nominated for some film because it was entered into a film festival. And at that film festival, I guess if you were one of the leads or one of the featured players, you got nominated.
What was it
And
called? What was the movie?
it was just five kids. So if I was to translate it, it would translate as kids troop.
Okay,
That's it. It was a kiddie movie,
got
and there was some sadness. There was a lot of comedy, and it was the very first movie I ever did. So I was around kids that were really good at turning on the waterworks on cue, and it was something that I was taken aback by it because I was like, how is this? How are they doing this?
You're like, I don't know how to cry on command.
No, no, and I kind of still don't. I mean, if I know that a scene is going to require, I guess, heavy emotion, then it's I guess it's context for me. It's
Right.
it's like a cry on cue. Just I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what I don't know. I don't have a why. I need a why. I need a reason. I need it was I don't know. I just found it really difficult. And these kids were just so skilled at it, and I was like, these kids are amazing. They were great actors, so that was never so I'm sure that they could see things that I hadn't yet learned at that point. But yeah,
Right.
it was nuts.
Absolutely. Well, that's crazy. They could just turn on the waterworks like that. But
Oh my gosh, yeah.
one more question of those very early days before we get to the big, Miss Saigon breakthrough at age 18 or whatever. But before that, like really quick, didn't you do some recording as a young singer too? Like your
I
album Small
did.
Voice and Leia was the second album, and didn't you even open for like Stevie Wonder in Manila? Like I want to know some of the early like singing side of things that you got to experience at a young
Okay.
age.
Well, the opening for Stevie Wonder, it happened just before I was started auditions for Miss Saigon. So that was kind of much like later. Well, later in my younger career.
Yeah.
But as
The
far
later
as
part of the
the
early.
the later part of the early, but yeah, I started doing records when I was maybe 9 or 10, and it was my mom that was producing those records. And the only reason she did it was because she was trying to get recording companies to take a listen and consider signing me, and all of them flatly told her no because they didn't think that a record that was that had a kid's voice on it, they didn't think that it was a moneymaker. They didn't think that there was anything to it, and she wanted to prove everybody wrong because my mom is doggedly stubborn like that. So, um, so yeah, so she got some money together, created this recording company. We had already invested some money in musicians, recording time, studio time, and I had put a couple of songs down. We didn't put a full album down yet, so it was just two songs to bring to recording companies. And she was like, everybody said no. So she created her own and started first with the single, started selling the single first just to see if there was a place in the market for somebody like me. And so she would go to there was this street in Manila called Raon where you would have like a row of music stores. And it was like not just it wasn't just like Tower Music. It was you'd have records, you'd get sheet music,
Wow.
and like musical instruments that were all hanging on the wall or something.
Cool.
And yeah, it was actually really cool. And I'm like, these could come back because I mean, there might just be I know there might be kids who will want to put up a store, to go to a store like this because
Right. Not
it was
just
quite
all
a
online,
fast.
not just all digital streaming. And it's kind of cool to have
Yes,
a row of brick and mortar stores.
yeah, it was kind of incredible to go store after store after store. And those were the wares. You could get a harmonica,
Yeah.
you could get sheet music for your piano, you could get a guitar or these other string instruments, called rondalia, but there are different kinds. So there's like an octavina, you can have a banduria, you can have all of these small. And I used to play a banduria, but that's a whole other conversation. It was like a mandolin, but smaller, and it had a very particular sound. But yeah, so anyway, back to my mom. She would take orders from she would take orders from the owners of these music stores, and so okay, like let's do 20, 20 of the 45s and whatever. And so she would take orders and she would fulfill them and leave. And so she'd do this for an entire row of stores. Just the supply would be in the trunk of her station wagon, the mommy mobile of the day, if you will.
Right.
So the next thing she knew, the store started calling her back saying, would you and could you please refill? And it turns out that there were parents that were looking for something to play for their kids. And that record was, I guess, filling a gap in the market that I don't think anyone really knew existed. So here comes this gap in the market, and here's this kid singing, you know, a, a Disney song and a song from the Muppet movie. And my mom was like, felt so vindicated, you know, by what was happening. And so, yeah, she resupplied, she fulfilled more orders, and she made enough money. We made a full album, and here goes my recording career, like in
Wow.
earnest.
Wow. It sounds like we need to give mom so much credit for helping getting this thing going here. That's so great.
Totally. Oh my
All
gosh,
right.
totally. Yeah. And I try to give her as much credit as I absolutely can.
And what's her
And
name? Because I'm going to write an article with this. How do I spell your mom's name?
okay, my mom's name is Ligaya, and it means happiness or joy. So her English nickname is actually Joy. So you spell it Ligaya.
Okay. And then I can say like Joy in quotes or something as her nickname.
Yeah,
So
yeah, totally. That
and
was
it's Salonga as well.
yes.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to get that right. I got to give mom the proper shout out here. She did so much for you.
Okay.
All right.
She
So
really did.
and then okay, now we're at the big breakthrough role of Kim in Miss Saigon. I guess what are you 18 years old or something, set during the Vietnam War. You win the
Right.
Olivier Award on West End, and then when it comes to Broadway, you win the Tony. Wait, am I correct to say I read somewhere that you were the first Asian descent actress to win a Tony? Is that right for that role?
Okay. So I'm certainly not the first Asian, nor am I the first Asian woman to win a Tony Award. The very first Asian, as far as I know, to ever win a Tony Award, like ever, 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 is BD Wong for Best Featured Actor in M Butterfly. And I've seen the play, and I can only imagine how incredible he must have been. BD Wong is somebody who's quite well known to people as the voice of Shang in Mulan.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also been on Law and Order SUV for a very, very long time, as the psychologist with a very, very calming demeanor and
Mm-hmm.
calming voice. Lovely man. Um, and then the second Asian, as far as I know, to win a Tony is costume designer Willa Kim, who won the costumes for the Will Rogers Follies.
Oh.
So she was the first woman, as far as I know, to win a Tony Award. But I'll really have to do a deep dive into who won what.
Right.
But the thing is, I know that she won it because we both got our Tony Awards on the same night.
So you know.
Um, so I knew. I saw it happen. I heard them say, and the winner for best costume designer is Willa Kim for the Will Rogers Folly. So I was in my seat at the Men's Cop Theater. I saw it happen, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's really amazing. And so for me, I'm like the first Asian actress to win a Tony Award. So we really have to just keep qualifying,
We have to really make
qualifying that.
I want
Really
to
make
give
it
you credit for
specific.
shattering the glass ceilings, but we got to make sure it's the right ceiling we're talking about. All right.
Exactly.
I love it. Well, just
But yeah,
beyond the historic wins and everything, like just memories of Miss Saigon. I mean, that is an iconic role now, and you got to originate it. I mean, you must take such pride in that.
I do. And but it was also a very it was tough. I think anybody that has ever originated any role, wherever you've done it, um, because you're basically breaking new ground and you're going on uncharted territory. It's like, okay, what is this? What is this going to turn into? What is this going to be? Um, and you don't always know. It's hard. It's like being in a dark room and you don't have a flashlight and you're feeling your way around just to try and get your bearings and but as time goes on, a little more light comes in and you get, and you're starting to, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, okay, now I understand what this is. But yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. And folks that have never originated anything before, it's this is just it's an adventure and it's not always fun
Right.
originating something. Yeah, and it gets stressed. There's anxiety, there is stress, there is the what on earth am I doing. It's Yeah, it's a lot. um
Well, there's no
and
template. There's no blueprint for you to go off of because you're
exactly,
inventing. You're drawing the
there
blueprint.
there is no stencil, there
Right.
is nothing, there's no guideline, there's nothing. And you don't know what the demands are going to be until you're actually in the belly of the beast, and then you're starting to figure things out, and it's like, okay, I got this. We need another actor to play the other two shows, and then things like that. um and yeah, you figure out level of fitness, you figure out physical demand, you figure out how much rest you're going to need, and those are things that only the person who originates a role is able to figure out. And then you're able to pass the template on to whoever takes over from you, and hope that and hope and pray for the best, that they're able to keep building upon that and run with it. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure future Kims and future Miss Saigons were appreciative of you having a stencil to work from, unlike you.
Yeah, but I still feel that the need to apologize to every single one of them for the stencil being what it turned out to be.
A rough sketch, but
Yes.
a Tony winning rough sketch. Well, all right.
Right.
Well, then right from there is in 1992. You know where I'm going with this. Is the one we all know you from is the
Exactly.
singing voice of Princess Jasmine in Aladdin. And I have to say singing voice because I know the spoken voices were what the guy from Full House, Scott Weinger and Linda Larkin, right? But
Yeah.
you and Brad Kane were singing that iconic Oscar winning song, A Whole New World, on the magic carpet. Are you so?
Right.
What is your memories of stepping in with Brad singing that? Are you in a booth together? Is he saying "Don't you dare close your eyes" like right next to you, or is that recorded separately? Or I want to know the details.
No, we were well, for the morning session, because we were there the whole day. So for the morning, it was to record the orchestra, because the orchestra did everything together. It was not like strings isolated or um, woodwinds isolated. It's everybody, this massive orchestra, all of them playing together. And so we had to kind of be in an isolation booth, so was that our vocals wouldn't bleed into the orchestral mix. So we were in an isolation booth singing the song so that the orchestra could have us as a reference. And we were doing all of this together in the morning. And then the orchestra, being as incredible as they are, then they leave. And then we are left in the studio to focus on the vocal performance. But yeah, so yeah, he was singing "Don't You Dare Close Your Eyes" because we were kind of in two isolation situations, but we could still see each other through glass and kind of do this performance together but separated, if that makes any sense at all.
Right. But
Yeah.
in addition to just the performance of it in the booth. Like, just speak to the song itself. Like, why do you think it's so magical? I mean, it might be the greatest Disney song of all time, if you ask me. It's right up there. But why, as a song, why? I mean, it's so magical.
It is. It is. I think because I mean, we see the genesis of two people falling in love, and there is always so much hope that goes along with that, especially in a Disney movie, where you see kind of the beginnings of two people. You know, clearly they are attract. Clearly, their attraction has already been established earlier on in the film, but then you see all of this wonderment and all of this beauty. I mean, they're flying through the sky, and already that's beautiful. And then they're going through to different parts of literally the whole world.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're sitting on a rooftop by the end in what I can surmise is China. They see the nose of the Sphinx fall down. I guess they're seeing the world. I guess whatever the world might mean in those days historically, and it's beautiful. You're seeing animals. You're seeing, the heavens and the stars and puffy clouds. It's just this setting that is so romantic. Um, Never mind that the character of the boy is based on a lie.
Right. Prince Ali.
Boys lie, men lie, and we see it happen in one of the best Disney songs of all time.
But they come around in the end and find real love.
In the end, yeah. I mean, yes, they're at that 11th hour. We see
Yeah.
a conversion, and we see the realization of the wrongs of their ways, and set things right again. It's just too funny
That's
when I think
great.
about it that way.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it, I guess, right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah, totally.
you and Brad did get to perform it at the Oscars, but the night that it won the original song, right? You actually got to perform. What was that?
Yeah,
What was that like?
yeah. It was. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. My mom was sitting out in the audience, and I was backstage because I needed to focus, and then we were back there, and I just kind of didn't want to go anywhere. So she I got a backstage view of my own because I shared this backstage with Placido Domingo was back there, and Sheila E was back there, and um the late great Natalie Cole was singing, and she did the music from The Bodyguard. It was
Wow.
it was a crazy, crazy backstage area, and I just remember being, okay, why do I need to be out there? I mean, the people that I want to kind of hang around with are back here, and it was incredible. Yeah, Natalie Cole was really cool, and I remember her being really, really nice. Um, yeah. Um,
That's
so
cool.
yes, we got to perform it at the Oscars, and it was a forklift with a carpet on it. That was our magic carpet for the evening. Um, hey, and on the stage it was like all kinds of stuff. They created this like, it was like a marketplace. So you had fire breathers and snake charmers, and there was a woman who was dancing with a snake around her neck, I believe, or she would be playing with it. And it was wow, it was crazy.
A
It
forklift with a
was
magic carpet. I gotta say, on a personal note, side tangent, that your forklift magic carpet is way better than what I did at a high school pageant. We had like a pageant, the Mr. Linganore competition. My twin brother and I wore a pair of black sweatpants on my head as Jasmine's. We were pulled around by our buddies on just a rug, just around the stage. But I was lip syncing to your voice singing the song. So thank you for that.
that's hilarious.
I should say that.
Yes, the things that song may have
The
spawned
things that it
in high
sparked
schools everywhere.
around the world. But yes, but I'm glad it won. Bring it back on top. I'm glad it won the Oscar that night, and I think
Yeah,
won
me
a
too.
Grammy for the Peebo Bryce and Regina Bell version, like the end credits version. So yeah, you guys did it. You did it up. Well,
Yeah,
before we run, we have to say your other huge Disney role was the singing voice of Mulan in
yeah,
'98. I
yep.
guess the spoken voice was, how do I say it? Ming Na Wen was the spoken
Yes,
voice.
that's correct. Yep.
But you
Ming
got
Na
to
Wen did it.
sing, the iconic Reflection, memories of that, and why you think that song is so powerful.
I think it actually still is. I mean, I think that song in particular is powerful because of well, one, before representation was even a thing or even a byword or even like the word that it is right now and what it means, that movie was doing it. I mean, for a lot of young Asian women, for a lot of young Asian girls, um, who, as of that moment, didn't have a Disney princess or a heroine that they could consider their own, here she arrived. And many of the voice cast was also of Asian descent. George Takei, again, BD Wong, Ming Na Wen, myself, Getty Watanabe. Um, and it was Frida Foshin. I think Sun Tek Oh was also in it. But yes, it was this massive Asian cast that got to be a part of it. And so, so it felt like quite a moment for us, um, because we were starting to get closer to playing people that were more like us, I guess. I mean, I got to play, sure, I got to play Kim in Miss Saigon, but this was going to be different. This was a hero and somebody who was already, I guess, established as something of a legend in China. I mean, there's poetry written about this person. So as far as memories of having done Reflection, I mean, the situation was quite similar. Very big orchestra. I'd have to sing it with the orchestra in isolation. And then, but it was kind of more like a work in progress because I would record one version first, and then I would be called in the following year because there would be an additional song where I'd sing maybe one or two lines from it. And then it was like, well, we had to change a little bit for the story. Would you record it this way, this version of the song? Like, okay. And then I think I went back in a total of three times for that particular song. Um, yeah, because it would keep the lyrics would keep changing, context would keep changing, the song's length would be changing as well, and yeah, so it was. I remember there being there was more to it than it just being one and done. Um, yeah, so there were quite a few sessions that I had to come in for.
Well, right, and because you also did pieces of other songs like "Honor to Us All," and I think
Yeah,
Marnie Nixon, I think, is on a credit on that one too. And
yes,
she
as
was like
for the
she kind of did what you did long ago by being the
exactly.
dubbed over
So
singing voice for all Audrey Hepburn and all those roles back in
and
the day,
Deborah
Natalie
Kerr for
Wood.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So she was like the person to go to, and so I was kind of
now you're the
yeah, but
person.
yeah, but I wasn't exactly hidden behind a curtain or anything. There were no
Exactly,
bones about everything. It's like this is the person who's singing.
exactly.
It was always exposed. I was never told to hide, so it was
That was
nice.
things had come a long way in that regard. All right. Well,
Thankfully,
you've
yes.
been more than generous with your time, but before we run, I do have to I want to know like sort of the post Disney period. You're doing breakthrough iconic roles in Les Mis on Broadway. I guess you did the revival of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Flower Drum Song and Once on This
Hmm.
Island. There's been so many great ones, but do you have a personal one of that period, the post Disney stuff that or even I guess during the Disney stuff, but that that is like your personal one you're sort of the most proud of?
Oh, I think it just hasn't happened yet.
Oh, all
Um,
right.
well, so no, it's currently in tech, um, but I'm currently part of the producing team and one of the cast of a musical that's opening on Broadway very soon called Here Lies Love. And I think I'm proudest of it because finally, after having played all of these other roles on stage, I finally get to play somebody of Filipino descent. I finally get to play a Filipino, as in written as a Filipino on Broadway, and the entire cast is Filipino as well. So I'm here. I am so many years after making my Broadway debut at the Broadway Theater in Miss Saigon, and now here's the show in the Broadway Theater, but in a very very different, but something very different. And it's written by David Byrne and Fatboy Slim, and it's been quite the adventure. Um, I got to see it in London when it was over there. It was first at the Public Theater here in New York City, and now it's going to be on Broadway. so many years after that first production, and I'm extremely excited, but again, and proud, but again, it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't seen an actual paying audience. Um, but as far as something that's actually happened, um, I don't know. I've gotten to, or a favorite, it would probably be a production of Sweeney Todd in Manila, because it was the very first time I got to play a baddie, got to play a villain, got to play somebody who's not really likable, and having the most fun at it.
Making the meat pies.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. I love it. I loved it so much. It was so great.
Well, everyone keep an eye out for that show. What's the title again that's coming up?
Here Lies Love.
Here Lies Love.
At the Broadway Theater in New York City.
At the Broadway Theater, New York City. Keep an eye out for that. You can also see Lea Salonga on TV, Pretty Little Liars Original Sin on HBO Max, Little Demon on FX and Hulu with Aubrey Plaza and Danny DeVito. You're a Disney legend. They crowned you that in 2011. Official Disney legend, Lea Salonga.
Yeah.
Check out the Broadway in the Park concert at Wolf Trap on Friday, June 16th, Aladdin, Mulan, all the stuff. We don't know what we're going to sing. You got to come out to hear the set list. So thank you so much for taking so much time with us. This was so much fun.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. This was my pleasure.
All right. Soaring, tumbling, freewheeling. We're out of here. See ya.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.